Changes in cognitive abilities, such as loss of memory, can make living and feeling at home a tremendous challenge. Persons with dementia often experience apraxia. Apraxia is the inability to perform particular purposive actions as a result of brain damage. For example, buttoning a shirt, using a fork to eat. The brain no longer tells the body how to function.
If I had his shaver or his brush and comb in a drawer, he would sometimes forget. Sometimes he would remember that they were always in this drawer, and then he would get them out and he would say, "What do I do with this? What is this for?" So I would help him and show him, and then that was okay. I would just simplify it by just taking all the clutter out, just keeping the soap and the towel in the same place, and his toothbrush and toothpaste, and also his shaver and brush and comb out on the top, so it was always available for him. He lost the perception of being able to use a knife and fork. So after that, a couple of times of just using a fork and me having to cut up some chicken or some beef or whatever we were having that night, I would just give him a spoon and a small dessert fork.
Perception is the awareness of the environment around you. The person may frequently bump into things and have trouble distinguishing objects. Things may look like one thing but actually be something else. May have difficulty recognizing familiar objects or people.
If I need to remind my mom about who I really am, one of the things for my mom in particular that's really important is to present it in such a way that it's not an embarrassment to her that she has mistaken me for the wrong person. I simply remind her who I really am. "No, Mom, I'm Roger, your son." And that seems to work most of the time.
Cecil is at that point in transition that he doesn't recognize anything. You tell him to put something in the microwave. He doesn't know what the microwave is. You tell him to go out in the freezer and see what you want for supper. Well, that means nothing to him.
He would go to look for something like a hammer or a chisel or a nail or what have you, because he thought he could do a little project. And all of a sudden he couldn't see it. He couldn't see where he had placed these things, and he said, "You've moved them again. Where have you put them?" And they were right in front of him, but he didn't have that perception of what this tool looked like anymore. I used to argue, and then I learned later on that you mustn't argue because it just gets them more fraught or more het up and more anxious.
One of the things I did was I tried to make the room he was sleeping in almost identical in all of the decoration to what he had at home. Same bedspread, same things on the wall. I brought his towels to the bathroom, some of his normal toiletries.
Home adaptation involves making simple changes to the home environment to maximize safety, security, comfort, and independence.
Safety for individuals who maybe mobility is declined and have falls risk, and caregivers who are caregiving and maybe needing to be physically involved. It is our due diligence as professionals to help caregivers to understand and support their loved one in the least intrusive way and to allow them to be as independent as possible for as long as possible.
It was a physical challenge. Her walking, her moving about the house, her moving from chair to chair, from bedroom to washroom and so on. Those were the biggest challenges we faced.
The other environmental adaptation is for a person from the perspective of their brain changing. People with dementia may have lived in a home for 40 years and in the moderate to later stages of dementia do not know how to navigate their own home. So it could be clearing clutter in the kitchen so that they can find the cup in amongst a cupboard full of different things.
Just getting rid of a lot of clutter does make life a lot more simplified, and it's just easier for your life and for their life as well.
Some other adaptations might be low stimulation, soft music, calming music, rocking chairs.
One of the things that does happen for people with dementia is their walking ability changes, their mobility can change, and their balance goes off. So they are probably at greater risk of falls, or some people are.
We did a lot of changes in the environment. We added handles in the shower, handles by the toilet, and of course the chairlift on the stairs. And floor to ceiling poles, we had 3 of those in the house, which helped her get in and out of bed and in and out of her chair.
She has her own 2-bedroom suite downstairs, and just recently she had a little bit of a slip in the bathroom, so they came and put a nice walk-in shower with a nice portable seat on it with handbars and rails so that she'll be safe when she has a shower rather than stepping into a bathtub.
I installed gates so that he couldn't get to the front of the house and out onto the street, knowing that if he did get out of the back of the house, the yard was fenced and the gates were locked.
You also need an environment that's stimulating enough for the person, so that they're not isolated in a room, but they're not watching traffic all the time. You really need to look what's important to that person. Did this person love to sit out in their garden? So we'll do whatever we can so they can sit in their garden. We may have to put ramps in, might have to put handrails in, but if that's what's important, I think that's where we really need to go with that.
The environment includes the physical structure of the house, as well as the activities and tasks being performed within and around the home and community. Most importantly, the activities need to continue to meet both of your needs.
I also enjoyed going out with Dad. It was one of the things that we did. And his enjoyment was clearly there. You know, he enjoyed going, and we tried to always sit at the same table. We often, because it was Fridays, had the same waitress who knew our names, and it was just that familiarity, I think, that helped to make it possible for him longer. New things are just about impossible. To change a restaurant, for example, when we were so used to going to that one, even if we couldn't get our table, we would sit and wait for it, because it was so much more positive for him.
We still played games with the grandchildren. We had them round most weekends. She would try and set the table and put cutlery out and participate in what we were going to have to eat. So we did include her in the daily life.
One of the things that we do that has great joy is getting out in the boat. And although Mom can't walk down the dock anymore, I'll wheel her in her wheelchair and then lock it and flip up the footsteps, and within 30 seconds she's in the boat without any help.
It's about meeting people where they're at, meeting them with expectations that they are able to be successful with.
As his Alzheimer's got worse, I noticed that he couldn't manage as many things as he used to. And well, we might fill an entire afternoon of errands, 5, 6, 7 stops, grew to 5, grew to 4, grew to 3, and then kind of grew to maybe just a drive and get out at the beach and have a look at the ocean and get back in the car.
Our life got very limited though, and he didn't enjoy having friends coming in, which he always used to like. He couldn't take anything in, so it mainly was just book reading and being the two of us, and then going for a ride every day. No matter what the weather, we would always go out down to the water.
Gradually, as his disease progressed, I was experiencing frustration a little bit, wondering what to do. And I happened to be swimming one day. I decided to go swimming, and I met a dear lady at the swimming pool, and she said to me her husband was in long-term care, and I said, "Oh, what does your husband do?" And I said, "He has vascular dementia." "Oh," she said, "you'll have to come and join a caregiver support group." And my experience with them in caregiving was so helpful. I didn't feel alone anymore because many people were going through the same thing as I was going through.
My advice is to not to be embarrassed with the situation that your spouse is in, but to go out there and tell everybody. In the early times we went to the Alzheimer's meetings, Rita was one of the most verbal people in the meeting because she knew what was happening to her, so she would ask all the questions. So the Alzheimer's Association has been a very important part of the journey.
We offer early stage support groups where folks can get together and talk about, how things are for them. The caregiver doesn't come with them. That kind of peer support is very important. We also offer education programs so people with early dementia can understand what's going on. We also offer one-on-one support, phone support, and a Minds in Motion program, which is an exercise and social program for people with early dementia and their care partner. It's a great way for folks to get out, get some exercise, and then just have some social time with other people that are going through exactly the same thing.
Rita and I went to the Minds in Motion for about 2 years, and that was amazing because we were there with other people in the similar circumstances, all different, And Rita was able to communicate with them.
It is for couples. And I'm going to take him there. It's something I'll be going with him. So we'll both have this socialization together.
It can be so important for caregivers to access resources and supports for themselves as soon as they understand that this is an issue that's going to be impacting someone that they love. Just in terms of having that sense that there are people out there who've been where they are now, who can really help guide them in terms of the things that they might experience or the things that they might need to help them on the journey. That kind of peer support is really invaluable and quite different than the kind of support they might get from people who are concerned and who care, but who really haven't necessarily been on that particular journey.
There's no pressure to be okay. And I think that that's one of the things that people with early dementia really struggle with, is trying to look okay in the eyes of society.
You learn to be more open and to give your true feelings and what you were feeling if you were frustrated. You could cry if you wanted to, and you got a hug. It released that tension and the insecurity one has not knowing what to do. And coming home from those meetings, it just gave me a new lease on life. I thought, oh, I'm not alone here.